Welcome to yet another episode of the Legacy Building Leaders TV show. In this episode, we are joined by Reverend Wilfred Dimingu, the Education Secretary for the Methodist Church in Zimbabwe.
My name is Reverend Wilfred Dimingu. I've been with the Methodist Church as a minister since 2003. I'm a holder of 2 diplomas from the United Theological College in Zimbabwe, and that is the Diploma in Theology and Diploma in Religious Studies. I am also a holder of a Bachelor of Arts degree in Religious Studies and a Master's in Business Leadership. As a minister in the Methodist Church, before I became the Education Secretary, an appointment that was done in 2020, I have been a bishop before, and being the Education Secretary, it's an honor that was bestowed upon me because the education sector in Zimbabwe, its history won't be enough without mentioning the legacy that has been built by the Methodist Church. The Methodist Church has been a player in the education sector in Zimbabwe since 1892, when the first Methodist school was established by a Methodist minister, Reverend Josiah Ramushu, in Epworth in 1892. It started as a Sunday school, but then it was in 1894 it became a formal school, which became very popular to the extent that even the daughter of Chief Chiremba attended that school. And that school, when it was formalized, it was taken over by the community then. And then the Methodist Church also in the same time established a school in Nenguo, that is in Marondera. And the school was started again by another lake evangelist from South Africa, Mudumedi Moleli. The school became very prominent and very popular as well during that time, but unfortunately the school was closed after Moleli was killed, after he was being accused of being a sellout during the war. Then when the school was closed in 1896, around there, the school was then reopened by Reverend John White, who opened the school at the place where Mudumedi Moleli's shrine was, to remember the legacy that was built and the dream of Mudumedi Moleli. And from there, the school continued to enroll a lot of students. And in 1915, Sir Waddilove, who was in England, sent a donation of £1,500 to develop the infrastructure at the Nenguo school. And the school was then changed from being Nenguo to Waddilove, the name that it still has up to date. And Waddilove has actually become a very prominent place and a very influential educational institution in Zimbabwe, which has seen quite a number of people passing through the school. Besides having a teacher's training at some point and a nursing training at some point, the school has continued to produce a lot of graduates that have become very prominent people in our country. And also in 1962, the church made a very big decision to enroll blind students at Waddilove. And up to now, we have got a department for blind students, and quite a number of them have made huge impact in our country. Some of them have become lawyers, and they are practicing and they are doing very well in their work. The missionaries who introduced the schools in Zimbabwe, there are various reasons why they introduced those schools. And one of those reasons is that obviously it was for the purposes of evangelism. And also it was for the purposes like the likes of John White. He was really into the issue of developing the welfare of the indigenous people. So the Methodist Church continues with its legacy now of building schools, of promoting education in Zimbabwe, and it has produced a lot of leaders in Zimbabwe which have made it in various leadership positions in our country. Waddilove has produced a number of effective people in our country who have become very effective leaders in our country. And the academic excellence that have been achieved at Waddilove is so amazing. Only last year in 2019, we had one student, an A-level student, who wrote 7 A-level subjects and came out with 35 points. And that was a record breaking. And in as far as the continuing in academic excellence, Waddilove has become a center of education. But besides Waddilove, the Methodist Church in Zimbabwe has a number of schools. In the whole country, the Methodist Church in Zimbabwe has got 8 boarding schools around the country, and that is high schools, and 2 primary schools, and about 17 primary day schools around the country. And only last year, the Methodist Church in Zimbabwe opened 2 new schools, one in Bulawayo, Bulawayo Methodist High School, which is a day school in Makokova, and also in the rural Mzarabani in Mahuwe. We opened another school there, Nyarutombo, to cater for the disadvantaged community in that area. So in terms of education, the Methodist Church in Zimbabwe is marching on, and the impact that the church has made in education is so massive, and there are a lot of things that have been lined up towards developing education in Zimbabwe.
We've listened to that amazing legacy building leadership story of the Methodist Church educational legacy as narrated by Reverend Wilfred Dimingu, the Education Secretary. In the next segment of the Legacy Building Leaders TV show, we are now going to be joined by 2 learners from Waddilove High School, which is one of the legacy institutions for the Methodist Church in Zimbabwe, as they interact with Reverend Wilfred Dimingu, the Education Secretary.
Greetings to you, Reverend. I'm Chidocha Mgoji, and I'm from Waddilove in Upper 6. It's such an honor to take an interview with you. So my first question for you is, what are the key factors that you have gone through for the success of your leadership journey as a minister and education secretary?
As a leader, first and foremost, one of my success factors is my faith in God. That is a very critical key for me, because I believe that with God, I can be able to do whatever assignment that I am assigned as a minister of religion and as the education secretary of the Methodist Church. Number 2, it's discipline. If you want to achieve in anything, you have to be disciplined. When I talk of discipline, I mean you just have to tell yourself that I have to do things the right way. Number 3, one of the success factors is my belief in the fact that before I lead anyone, I have to lead myself. So the first person you lead is yourself. You can't lead other people if you can't lead yourself.
My name is Grace Murumbi, an Upper 6 student from Waddilove High School. My question to you will be, the development of entrepreneurial skills has become the in thing. So how is the Methodist Church in Zimbabwe, through its schools, helping to empower children towards entrepreneurship?
Thank you, Grace. That's a very interesting one. First and foremost, I would like to say that the issue of entrepreneurship skills and entrepreneurial skills is very key now in our country and even in our education system. But as a church, we haven't done much in our schools in terms of developing entrepreneurial skills to our learners, because as a church, all what we provide is the infrastructure, and the government provides the curriculum. We have emphasized that no learner in our school should pass through the process from Form 1 to Form 6 without at least having studied 1 or 2 practical subjects. All those subjects should be a matter of priority. No student should go through our schools without going through those subjects. But also, a plus goes to the government for the recently introduced continuous assessment. It's also an area that helps learners to equip themselves in entrepreneurial skills.
Well, my second question is, what are some of the challenges that you have faced in your leadership journey, and how have you overcome them?
So one of the challenges is that people whom you lead might not see the way you are seeing things, because the kind of leadership that we have been accustomed to in our country and in most of the sectors in Zimbabwe is the administration type of leadership. I believe that leadership is doing the right things and not just doing things the right way. So when you are doing the right things, it means you might change the way things are being done so that you do the things in a way that you think this is the right way. And it's always a challenge because it involves changing of people's mindset. But also the other challenge is that the generation that we are in, as a leader, you face challenges where people don't go, you don't see things in the same way. And you are leading a people who have got their own issues. It might be that they are affected by economic situation, or they are getting other things from the technological platform, social media. So it's one of the challenges. I've realized that to be a leader, you need to be flexible. To be a leader, you have to learn every day, and you have to learn very fast so that you move with the people that you are leading, so that you don't end up becoming irrelevant. My kind of approach as a leader is a relationship-based leadership, which is results-oriented.
In your own view, what qualities make a good leader, and how are such qualities being developed among learners in church schools?
The qualities that can make a good leader, like I highlighted earlier on, is discipline and character. When you have got a good character, when you have got a well-grounded character, you can be a good leader. The challenge that many leaders have is that some people can be very competent, very, very competent, but they will be lacking on character. When your competence overtakes your character, you have a problem. People can see good qualities in you, good leadership qualities in you, but when you have got a character issue, you cannot be a good leader. So one of the things that is very key is to work on your character, on who you are, so that in life, whatever situation you face, it is your character that guides you before you can guide other people.
What advice can you give to today's learners on how they can choose their careers so that they can be good future successful leaders of tomorrow?
Number one, you need to choose a career path that you enjoy, because what you are able to do, Grace might not able to do it. So you don't have to choose a career path that you feel that's what everyone wants to do. You just have to choose a career path where you look at yourself and say, if I do this thing, I'll enjoy myself. Many learners these days, they just go in, they just take career path for the sake of their parents, or for the sake of the community, or for the sake of status. But the million-dollar question is, do you enjoy doing that thing? When you choose a career path, it's something that you live with for the rest of your life. Is there an opportunity for you to grow naturally in that career path? Is there an opportunity for you to be the person whom God created you to be?
Who are some of the most prominent leaders that have been produced by the Methodist education system over the past years?
The Methodist Church institutions produced quite a number of prominent leaders. We go back to the independence time in 1980. The first ministers in the Zimbabwean cabinet in 1980, the majority of them came from the Methodist institution. The likes of Dr. Nathan Shamyarira, Dr. Sidin Sekeramai, even Dr. Josiah Chinamano. So those are some of the prominent figures in the pre-independence era that came through the Methodist Church in Zimbabwe institution.
Young people are the custodians of the future. They are the ones who will take any legacy into the future of any society. And we are very pleased that these two that have participated in the previous segment have shared and engaged with Reverend Dimingu, the Education Secretary for the Methodist Church in Zimbabwe. Welcome to the final segment of the Legacy Building Leaders TV show, where our guest is Reverend Wilfred Dimingu, the Education Secretary from the Methodist Church in Zimbabwe. So, Reverend Dimingu, it's so clear from what you have shared that the Methodist educational legacy is phenomenal. I mean, the church has made such an outstanding contribution in the area of education. Maybe you want to just highlight as well, in this last segment, the scope and impact of this educational legacy that the Methodist Church, has made over the years.
The Methodist Church has been in the education sector for a long time, since 1892. And a lot of leaders in Zimbabwe came through the Methodist education system. So Methodist Church has impacted this country in a very big way in as far as education is concerned.
Why is the Methodist education system so attractive to parents? Maybe confirm for us, are your schools fully subscribed? Do you have enough learners, or you have to scout, for learners? How popular, is are your schools?
That's a very interesting one. Methodist schools have become a brand. They've become a brand. In terms of subscription, we are fully subscribed. People are after our schools, not because of only the academic achievements, but also the character formation of the learners. We drill our learners into spiritual things, and our church of late have stationed a chaplain, full-time chaplain. We are at the formative stages. We need to instill these values to the learners that whenever you go through the education process in our institution, you should be a responsible citizen.
So maybe as we draw to a close, Reverend Dimingu, what are the new horizons for the Methodist educational legacy? We've heard this great story of the amazing contribution that has been made over the years. Are there any new possibilities in the future in terms of continuing to build on this very strong legacy?
We are not resting. We haven't done much. We are not looking at what we achieved, but we are looking ahead. Yes. And we have played a bigger role in the provision of primary and secondary education, but we haven't done much in tertiary education. Right. And as a church, we are in the process right now of building a university, wow. Southern African Methodist University, right. At Waddilove. We are also listening from what is being said by the government, the issue of building a middle-class economy by 2030. Yes. And we are saying we have to shape ourselves towards that as well. And because we only used to have mission schools, yes. But we are saying we want also to come up with trust private schools, which can cater for a certain clientele. We are saying by 2030, if indeed the country becomes a middle-class economy, some people will have extra cash and they will say, I can't send my child to a mission school. Yes. They want something higher than that. Yes. And we are saying we don't want to miss that as well.
I mean, this is amazing. It's a great vision. And we wish you all the best in that. But let's maybe end with Reverend Wilfred Dimingu. You are sitting in a very important and strategic position today, where you are steering the ship in terms of, the educational legacy. What do you want to be your own leadership legacy in terms of your own contribution, to building on this very special brand that the Methodist Church has?
Thank you, Dr. Mugavire. As an individual, yeah. And as a leader, yes. In the church and the position that I hold now of the Education Secretary, which is a historical legacy dating back to 1892. And the challenges that we are facing now as a country, which we earlier on highlighted, the challenges of corruption. My focus is on the building the moral character to make sure that as a church, we instill the moral values in the learners that passes through our institutions. We want, I'm looking at a situation whereby a product from a Methodist school will be a sought after product in any institution to say, where did you get your O levels or A levels? And if somebody mentions any Methodist schools, even employers would say, these are the people to take. Right. So my priority is on the character formation and the moral, building the moral character of the learners. But number two also, like I highlighted, the issue of moving, not just moving, but catering for another clientele in the trust school component, private school component. That's my vision, and that's something that I'm pushing. Say, we need to cater for all people in our country so that our impact as a church is seen in every area, not just in the mission boarding schools as we knew them, as we inherited them from missionaries, but to say, us as the new generation of leadership, we need to say, after the mission schools, we introduce the private schools under the same banner with the same Methodist ethos. So that's my vision, and I feel that with the support that I'm getting from the church leadership now, I'll be able to achieve that, and especially to build another school, or not just one, but many, because most of the boarding schools that we have, they were established by missionaries. But us, after independence, in the independent Zimbabwe, as a church, we haven't done much in building more, especially now that there's high demand for education. Right. And my vision is to say, I need to leave an impact, I need to leave my footprints on something that people can point to say, during his term of office, the church established more schools to cater for ever demanding numbers, as I highlighted in the statistics.
Wow. All the best with that, Reverend Dimingu, and we are very pleased that you have made yourself available for this episode and for inspiring our nation, and we wish you every blessing, as you continue to build your leadership legacy.
Thank you.
So we have had the privilege of listening to the legacy building leadership story of Reverend Wilfred Dimingu as he narrated that educational legacy of the Methodist Church in Zimbabwe, a legacy that has lasted so many years and that's going to move into the future to continue to impact the leadership terrain of this great nation, Zimbabwe.